Ernesto was a diligent worker despite his extremely modest appearance. The manager turned down his application for a bank loan because he thought he was not dressed appropriately. Ernesto corrected him, saying that he should not have allowed looks to deceive him, but the man refused to listen and refused to see why. It would cost him dearly 5 years later when Ernesto would render him speechless with what transpired. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. Ernesto had grown up on a farm as the son of farmers, so he was accustomed to working the soil. Although his father farmed vast tracts of land, his ambition was to diversify his crops and turn them into an export. His father, Don Anselmo, was a modest man. He was constantly terrified about investing and thought something might go wrong. But the old guy handed Ernesto his property so he could continue farming it until he felt he had no more strength to supervise the sowing. The two brothers of the young guy did not have any interest in agriculture and instead resided in the city. Still, he gave them a call and advised them to make investments in export crop cultivation. His brothers got on board and raised the required funds. Ernesto thus went to the bank to get the money he needed to invest. After submitting the required legal paperwork, the loan officer who assisted him informed him that the funds will be available within a few weeks. Ernesto was overjoyed to hear the news, since he really needed the funds to begin his much-anticipated project. The massive project in which Ernesto had enormous trust was being prepared on his and his brother's farm. Although he seemed a little scared, his father claimed that his kid was intelligent and skilled in his field. The loan officer advised Ernesto to wait till 2 weeks had gone. Ernesto walked excitedly to the bank. He had a terrible encounter at the entry as he was made to wait longer than required because a significant client had come and all of the staff members were preoccupied with taking care of him. Ernesto had left the laborers in the field alone, and he was in a hurry. When he stood up to inquire when they could take care of him, one of the women in charge told him to wait until they had completed tending to the bank's principal customer. Ernesto was uneasy because he thought that every client's time was precious and that it was unfair to treat certain clients better than others. Still, there was nothing he could do but wait. The same woman who had instructed him to wait addressed every customer and apologized on behalf of the bank for not being able to assist them, which just made him more irritated. She would be giving the key customer lunch, and everyone on staff would be present. As a result, the bank was essentially closed during the event until afternoon when business started up again. Ernesto stayed put at all, but since he asked to go personal errands, he had to wait until his loan officer returned. "Don Ernesto, good evening." The guy added, "I'm sorry for keeping you waiting for so long, but as you saw today, there are institutional policies that require us to delay." "You need not worry, sir. I am completely aware that every business is unique and that its owners set its own policies." In actuality, Ernesto answered, "I come to inquire about the loan I've asked. Here is all of your documents, Mr. Ernesto. You should know that the loan has been pre-approved. To deliver the payout, all you need is the manager's consent." The loan officer stated, "You may bring the request to his office so he can sign and authorize it." With all the optimism in the world, the modest guy knocked on the manager's office door. The bank's top partners, on the other hand, gave him permission to go inside. Ernesto was given the go-ahead to take a seat, but the guy quickly dashed his expectations by stating that even if his loan application complied with all the standards, he would still reject it. He couldn't trust someone who didn't care about their looks because of the way he was dressed. It was obvious that they were irresponsible. Ernesto objected, telling him he couldn't believe he was being turned down for a loan based just on his appearance. 5 times the amount he was asking for in assets he had previously demonstrated. Refusing to back down, the manager angrily demanded that Ernesto go, calling his time a waste. Additionally, he made the suggestion that Ernesto may learn better clothing choices from this experience because appearances do matter in society. Ernesto walked out of the office with his head down, hoping that one day the haughty and pompous guy would learn his lesson. Since the agricultural cycle had distinct stages, Ernesto's initiative was being hampered by the passage of time. Unsure of what to do, he got into his vehicle and felt a rear-end collision while waiting for the lights to change at the stoplight. He considered it to be simply one more issue to deal with. The driver of the car that hit him apologized and requested a mutually agreeable solution when he got out and saw the damage. He was driving without a license, and he threatened to be arrested if the police got involved. After Ernesto gave his okay, they headed for coffee. Ernesto informed him what had transpired at the bank while they chatted, not recognizing who the man was. They had previously agreed on the payment for damages. The man listened, then assured Ernesto that the loan would be evaluated right away because he was a management at another bank. After receiving the money a few days later, Ernesto planted fresh crops. Ernesto's father looked on in awe as his son fulfilled his dreams. 2 years later, Ernesto started exporting. Ernesto paid off the debt and, naturally, had quadrupled the investment after 5 years. After realizing the firm was lucrative, his brothers started working side by side with him. The loan advisor and Ernesto stayed close friends, and during a poker session, the advisor informed Ernesto that a sizable portion of the bank's shares, which had rejected his loan application, were up for grabs. He said it would be a terrific deal, a chance to make the haughty boss who had made fun of him seem bad. Ernesto acted without hesitation. He hired his attorney to handle the legal work necessary to purchase the majority of that bank's shares. The ownership transfer took place in the bank's main hall 1 month later. The old manager had come in with a defeated mentality, having been bankrupted by the customer to whom they had paid so much attention. The individual stated in the board meeting that he was compelled to sell the bank's shares owing to circumstances, even though it was an extremely difficult decision. Ernesto, dressed in a striped shirt and filthy old shoes, entered the room while he was asking questions about the new owner. Ernesto said, "I came to ask you that, with everything in your impeccable jacket and your brand new shoes, please leave my bank," in response to the guy asking him what he was doing. There is no room for individuals who get carried away by looks in our organization. You see, you shut down the bank because of the customer who brought you to disaster and refused me a loan because I was ill-groomed. The manager gave the bank paperwork to the employee at that point and departed, looking dejected. He was not going to stand by and watch him treat those with modest appearances poorly. Friends, now let us know what you thought of this tale. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.